Thanks, Denise Dirks here to my right. I got Todd Cunin to my left, and the Lost Boy, Dan Hunt, the guy that's looking nice and scrubbed. We're live up there on the, actually kind of live up there on YouTube. You can say hi up there, Dan. I don't know if it sees you. I'm sure it does see you. But we've got Cal over there, Cal Hunter, helping us out.
Hello.
In the studio. And then we've got Garrett Penney and Seth Madden, our call screeners. Boy, exciting things going on. But you know what? It was funny, Denise. We were talking before. And I like it when the listeners get to hear our behind-the-scenes stuff. Denise turned to us. This is funny, huh, Todd? She goes, I watched our YouTube thing. We got to be careful of touching our noses and stuff. It looks like we're doing weird things to ourselves, and we're just itching,
giving signals.
I was trying to stifle a laugh.
And she goes, it looks like I was rubbing my nose or something. I said, you have to be careful what you're doing because we're now got video now, just like the cops do or anyone nowadays.
Exactly, and we've got a one-camera shoot here for this. We need to at least get a two-camera shoot because last week we missed Cal doing the Roger Rabbit and the Running Man in the booth as we were listening to some sort of music, and the fact that did not get caught on video is a travesty to video.
Well, even better than that, I wish they could see. Stand up, Dan. Look at Dan. He's got his bathing suit on. So what Dan does, he rolls in here.
Captain Morgan Dan.
He's got his boat parked outside. The family and the kids waiting. When is Daddy coming back? I don't know. He's in there doing something with a radio. I'm not quite sure.
Listen to the radio. You'll know when he's done.
I pack a lot in a day. I've been up since 4 watching golf, and then after this, we're going to go hit the lake. So you
how
just
about
gotta
that
get
round
rolling.
of 62?
Yeah,
huh?
Brennan Grace.
Wow,
that's a record right there.
Well, what's interesting is I was wondering. I was up since 4. I thought I was like working and working hard.
Doing emails.
I was watching golf. Exactly.
Emails.
Man, that rolls right into this important segment that we were talking about this lawyer that is basically dying. And this just sounds like typical lawyer. He's dying, and it's not like, okay, sometimes people die at work. That's just what happens, it's just unexpected. He knew he was dying. He's on the phone at a conference call on a legal issue, trying to bill a few more hours before he kills over. His last cell phone call was for work. He was vomiting and unable to sit up and slipping in and out of consciousness and billing while he's on this conference call.
Who hasn't done that here at this table?
I want to know. I need that guy or that gal.
In and out of consciousness, vomiting while on a conference call.
I want that guy or that gal at my firm.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no joke.
60-plus hours a week he was showing up to work. And
dedication.
And
we'll litigate to your last nickel.
Well, that's exactly right. But what the interesting thing is, people do that a lot. They work hard like that. But how do you do that for 20-some-odd years straight? That's where it gets taxing on you. But that's not important because you could be sitting in jail with O.J. right now in Nevada hanging out and partying because it looks like O.J. is coming out, and possibly not. Todd and I and the crew here, we've talked about this a little bit off the air, but we've got some fun sound bites. Cal, we've got some cool sound bites on this. So why don't you shoot some?
Any excuses in the 9 years that I've been here, and I'm not trying to make an excuse now. They were there because of me.
Go ahead. Denise, he what?
OJ's talking about all the people that were with him, the guys that went in. He said, look, they went in there because of me. Not making excuses. Did you see his trial? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, go ahead. So I think the interesting thing is people, and I was listening to it on the radio. I was down in Irvine yesterday, and I travel quite a bit. But I was thinking, man, everybody keeps talking about it. Maybe our listeners don't want to hear about this again. But there's some really unique issues that we're going to bring up that other people haven't talked about. I haven't heard anyone talk about, especially with Todd, who that's his expertise, is kind of in the defense of criminal issues, and he's prosecuted criminals in the past. But Todd, tell us some interesting things. First of all, Cal, do you have that sound bite that they talk about?
My vote is to grant your parole effective when eligible.
Stop right there. Okay, that's the key. Go ahead, Todd. Why is that important?
So the key there is when he says, my vote is to grant your parole when eligible. So unlike other states where if the parole board says you are paroled, this is Nevada, where they take a very hard line that parole is a privilege, not a right. And what they're saying here is that the earliest O.J. Simpson is up for parole is October of this year, and that is when the parole board can make a determination that his plan for parole is suitable. See, in California and other states, when they grant parole, if you're indigent, they bend over backwards to find a place to put you, a place to send you out, halfway house or whatever. You see, if anybody's seen the movie Shawshank Redemption, the guy grants parole, he comes back, and then within a week, he's out living in a halfway house, bagging groceries. It's not that way in Nevada. In Nevada, when they grant you parole, or when they say that you are eligible to be granted parole, as happened with O.J. Simpson, the burden then shifts to Simpson to come up with a plan for his release. Usually it's in the state of Nevada, but you can apply for an interstate compact, which O.J. has done, because he wants to go to Florida. So this is all presented to the parole board, who you're going to be with, how you're going to support yourself, what family members will be coming and going. And bear in mind, Simpson's sentence was for 9 to 33 years. This is for the robbery case. So the earliest he could get parole was the minimum portion, 9 years. That's why it's coming up. He's still subject to being on parole for a long time because the maximum was 33 years in the sentence. So they want to know everything that's going to go on. Right now, Simpson has to wait for approval from Florida saying that they'll take him, and then approval from Nevada saying, okay, you can go to Florida, and we agree with all of this. And he's got the money to pay for it. Well,
supposedly.
Technically he does. The Goldman family and Brown family would argue, well, wait.
They're owed a little bit.
Told us he's poor. He doesn't have any money. So getting to the money thing in a second. The question is whether or not he's going to be able to present a plan to the state of Nevada that they will approve come October.
Right, because it comes down to going to Florida, and we're going to, Dan will get a little bit of that. Denise and I here are going to sit on the side and listen because that's not our forte, but there's issues of why people like to go to Florida, especially when it comes to
creditors. Avoiding your creditors.
And not only avoiding creditors, but you've got issues of your, what do you call it? Your pension.
Your pension, where the pension gets deposited and when it gets taken out of the pension plan and paid to you. And so OJ's got a lot to deal with here with this. And it's not going to be a walk in the park for the next 2 months before October because he has recently been placed into protective custody because their concern is that despite the 9 years that he's done up to now where he's been a commissioner of the football league in prison. And softball league,
coach. Yeah.
And he's helped everybody. Now the concern is that people are going to be taking pot shots at him because the juice is going to be out. He's only got 2 months left in prison, so they put him into protective custody. So he's solitary.
Yeah, we're going to talk more about this when we come back. But let's make sure everybody knows. If you want to call in and talk about this topic or any other topics we're going to talk about today, call us at 855-LAW-RADIO or tweet us at
Radio Law Talk.
That's it. We'll be right back after this.
You're listening to RadioLawTalk.com.
The subway track, not gonna pin you to the floor, not gonna bind you up or pull you down. So what are you waiting for? After all we've been through.
The following announcement brought to you by SacramentoLawyer.com.
Finding the right lawyer for your particular needs can be confusing. With all the commercials and listings, and who's to say whether the lawyers there are even any good at what they do? So when you're looking for a lawyer, it makes sense to find someone local with the experience and expertise in that area of the law where you have a need. That's why there is SacramentoLawyer.com.
SacramentoLawyer.com.
At SacramentoLawyer.com, you just browse the site, free, and see the Facebook reviews on the firms you're considering with just a simple mouse click. That way you learn a little bit more about the lawyers there before you start making this critical decision. And there's no pressure. Use the right tool to find the lawyer that's best for you by going to SacramentoLawyer.com.
SacramentoLawyer.com.
That's SacramentoLawyer.com.
Since 1960, Iceberg Drive-In has been a family favorite for not only our famous thick shakes with unlimited delicious flavor combinations, but also our hand-breaded onion rings, delicious fries, and signature fry sauce. The Iceberg Shake Shop is perfect for high-traffic locations such as busy strip malls, recreational amusement centers, or near theaters. We are seeking qualified franchisees in the western United States. You'll have access to not only the popular Iceberg Drive-In name, but also our procedures, buying power, and operations. Plus, receive support dedicated to your success. For more information, email franchise@icebergdrivein.com or visit our website at icebergdrivein.com.
Are you ready for a 6-story adrenaline rush of chilling, spine-tingling fun? Then check out Riptide at Gulfland Sunsplash, the thrill seekers raft ride everyone's talking about, along with Double Dare, Thunder Falls, and Master Blaster, Northern California's only water coaster, plus 30 rides and attractions for everyone in the family. Plan your day of fun at Gulfland.com and get your splash on. Gulfland Sunsplash in Roseville, home of the new Riptide, with free parking every day.
Tried to cut these corners, tried to take the easy way out. I kept on falling short of something. I could have gave up then, but then again I couldn't have, 'cause I've traveled all this way for something. I take it in, but don't look down. 'Cause I'm on top of the world, eh? I'm on top of the world, eh? Been waiting on this for a while now. I've been waiting to smile it, been holding it for a while it. Take you with me if I can. Been dreaming of this since a child. I'm on top of the world.
That's one false step for man, one giant pursuit for mankind.
Go to the website, radiolawtalk.com. You can listen to the show there, and there's a lot of other good information, too. That's radiolawtalk.com.
Don't forget, when you're tired of politics radio, you sit right here and listen to Radio Law Talk, because we're going to put a different spin on it. We're going to talk about how it applies to us or doesn't apply to us in the law. That's kind of important. But remember, if you have any legal issues, go seek a local attorney that's going to help you out, because every single case is different and there's details that you need to work out with that lawyer. We're just talking about general law, and there's some fun stuff that we're just talking about off the air. I wish we could probably keep it on during. We can keep it all during. Wait a minute. Let's back up. So isn't like racing now? They have the race going on the left-hand side on TV, and then the commercials on the right-hand side. I noticed. I think Indy,
they did that with golf this morning. I noticed that.
Golf. They've tried to do that with soccer. One of the biggest difficulties of soccer is the ability to get advertising in. Hockey is difficult as well. So they've tried with that
on the side.
Picture-in-picture commercials on the side.
I think it's smart.
Oh, yeah. I was amazed that I was drawn to it. I was sitting there, and the golf is going on the left, and I'm still sitting there watching the commercials, and I'm like, "What is wrong with me?" But it's good. You sit there and watch it.
The real
Todd,
problem
I have a
was,
question for you.
It's boring.
Shoot, fire away. I am here. We talk about, trying to make this relevant to people's lives, and my sincere hope, even though I do this type of law, is that the topic of O.J. Simpson and getting out on parole is not something that people have to deal with in their everyday life.
Maybe the prison people are listening to us right now
That
live.
could be.
Are we on in Lovelock?
I think we should be.
We should be on in Lovelock.
We're satellite.
Come on.
But Denise, you have a question.
I do. I wonder what would happen if Florida denies, taking care of O.J. while he's on parole.
Well, I'll tell you, that is a serious concern. A lot of people, when they think back about this robbery conviction that happened back in 2008, there was a lot of complaints that this was a politically motivated conviction, that the jury was trying to do something that they believed the L.A. jury 12 years earlier couldn't do, and that given the evidence that existed, or the lack thereof, that the conviction was to make up for that, and then the long sentence on the part of the judge, up to 33 years, was because of influence from the murder acquittal. And so the question, I guess, now is, are there going to be considerations about whether or not he's granted going to Florida be based on bias that comes from the murder acquittal? And if he doesn't get approved to go to Florida, then he's got to stay in the state of Nevada or find some other state to be released to, and that could affect the protections that he got in Nevada to his home and his pension. And because remember, we talked about with the conviction that right after the conviction or the acquittal happened in the O.J. case, F.E. Bailey was on a plane to get him a house in Florida because the homestead protection there. So what happens with him if he can't go to Florida for this parole? They deny the interstate compact. He has to stay in Nevada. How does that affect his pension?
Well, why do they want to go to
home.
parole? Why do they want to go to parole? I mean, I guess some people are probably asking, well, okay, who cares? Why Florida?
I would tell. There we go. I'll talk about it now. But let's just keep it real. Anybody watch the news is what goes on in Florida.
Stays in Florida?
Yeah, well, it stays in Florida for good cause. They'll take them just because everybody crazy's in Florida. All the crazies are down there. But no, Florida's
Florida's a debtor's haven.
Oh, yeah.
Let's just be
It's not like,
here.
well, gee, there's 50 states and I like the sunshine in Florida. It's because, holy mackerel, if you're a debtor, Florida is the place for you because everything under the sun seems like it's protected there.
Well, your home is protected in Florida completely. It doesn't matter the value of the home. If you live in that home, it could be $1 billion home.
Yeah.
It's protected from creditors.
Yeah.
That's what it is. So it's the protection that OJ has under Florida law from creditors. And he's got 2 creditors out there that really want to get a piece of his assets.
And a piece of his assets.
That was
not only
that was legal to say on the air.
Yes.
This is the lady that lays on top of the roof.
Denise Dirks, ladies and gentlemen.
The other thing that's protected is his NFL pension.
That's the one.
Pension, and that's often the it's similar in many states that you can't go after retirement accounts. Not an average creditor. In California, for child support and even sometimes spousal support, you can go after pensions, but not your average creditor. You'd have to be a special creditor. And in this particular case, the Brown and the Goldman families, they are not viewed as special creditors.
So there's a lot on the line for O.J. Simpson. He's got a huge stake in this to get into Florida and to stay out of being paroled in Nevada. Should also mention that the parole system in Nevada has come under scrutiny because it's sort of a pay-for-play type situation. There are reports of guys that have been granted parole and they're still in custody 10, 12 years after the fact because they can't afford to get out. They're homeless, they're indigent. The state does not automatically put people up, so they've been taken to task by journalists and activists in the state of Nevada. This isn't going to apply to OJ because clearly he has the resources, despite his claims to the contrary. He has the resources to support himself. But Nevada has some issues with people that get become eligible for parole, but simply cannot afford to get out and they remain in custody.
Will OJ have to pay for his parole in Florida? In other words, they have to monitor. If Florida grants him the interstate compact and he goes to Florida, would he have to pay for his monitoring of his parole in Florida?
It is very common for them to assess the parolee the charges. I know, for example, if somebody, say, gets convicted of a DUI and they do their sentence on electronic monitoring, they wear that ankle monitor.
Oh, I think that's kind of a cool thing.
They're charged. They're charged $20 a day in the local jurisdiction and around and elsewhere. They're charged a daily fee to wear that ankle monitor. So that's placed back on the backs of the probationer in a probation case, and a parolee. They charge them for the parole monitor.
So the question is, can they go after his assets in Florida to make him pay for his parole in Florida?
Well, the thing is if he doesn't pay it. Again, Nevada takes the very strict view that parole is a privilege, not a right. So if he doesn't pay it, they don't have to go after his assets. They go after his assets and bring him back into prison.
Protective
they
custody.
just take him back into custody.
Oh, got it.
For a parole violation.
Got it.
All right, so we're going to end there. We're going to talk about student loans. There's probably a lot of people want to hear about student loans and how you can maybe get out of your student loans right after these great messages from our sponsors.
Head to Florida.
I used to bite my tongue and hold my breath. Scared to rock the boat and make a mess. So I said quietly, agreed politely. I guess that I forgot I had a choice.
The law offices of Denise L. Dirks provide family law services in Northern California.
This is Denise Dirks. We can represent clients in divorce, legal separation, child and spousal support, custody, determination of parental rights, step-parent adoptions, guardianships, and even conservatorship matters. Call 1-877-866-7186 for a consultation.
When the law affects your family, call 877-866-7186. The family of attorneys at Denise L. Dirks is here to help.
Since 1960, Iceberg Drive-In has been a family favorite for not only our famous thick shakes with unlimited delicious flavor combinations, but also our hand-breaded onion rings, delicious fries, and signature fry sauce. The Iceberg Shake Shop is perfect for high-traffic locations such as busy strip malls, recreational amusement centers, or near theaters. We are seeking qualified franchisees in the western United States. You'll have access to not only the popular Iceberg Drive-In name, but also our procedures, buying power, and operations. Plus, receive support dedicated to your success. For more information, email franchise@icebergdrivein.com or visit our website at icebergdrivein.com.
We're in the studio with Fred Penney, managing attorney with Penney & Associates Injury Lawyers. Fred, tell us what makes you the #1 choice for handling personal injury cases.
Most of our firm is made up of former insurance company trial lawyers with extensive experience handling all types of personal injury matters. We believe that gives us a distinct advantage.
That's Penney & Associates Injury Lawyers with locations throughout California. For a free consultation, go to pennyandassociates.com or call 1-800-616-4-LAW. That's 1-800-616-4-LAW.
Are you ready for a 6-story adrenaline rush of chilling, spine-tingling fun? Then check out Riptide at Gulfland Sunsplash, the thrill-seekers raft ride everyone's talking about, along with Double Dare, Thunder Falls, and Master Blaster, Northern California's only water coaster. Plus 30 rides and attractions for everyone in the family. Plan your day of fun at Gulfland.com and get your splash on. Gulfland Sunsplash in Roseville, home of the new Riptide, with free parking every day.
I'm on the verge of celebrity. So what you think about that? just a show. You make me wanna shut it all down, throw it all away, 'cause I'm nothing if I don't have you. What's the point of being on top, all the money in the world, if I can't blow it all on you? So send the cars back, put the house on the market, and my big dreams too, because it's all so clear, and that without you here, I'm the loser of the year. Loser of the year. I could try real hard, I could try to pretend that all these dreams make any sense without you, but that just ain't true. I thought these things would make me forget about you and me, but you're stuck in my head. I'm a loser if I lose her. You make me wanna shut it all down, throw it all away, 'cause I'm nothing if I don't have you. What's the point of being on top, all the money in the world, if I can't blow it all on you? You make me wanna shut it all down, throw it all away, 'cause I'm nothing if I don't.
What excites me even more than the $100,000 of tuition costs for a degree is all the interest that I have the opportunity to pay on that loan. This adds even more value to my college education because it means I pay more for my education than what my education costs because I can't afford my education.
That is our friend J.P. Spears talking about education.
I love that guy. I love
That
that
guy's
guy.
awesome.
He's hilarious.
He is so funny. Student loans. Americans owe over $1.4 trillion in student loan debt. Ready for this? 44 million borrowers.
Schools.
44 million borrowers right now in the United States. That's bigger than the entire population of Canada. $620 billion more dollars than the total U.S. credit card debt. Amazing. And the average 2016 graduate student has $37,172 worth of debt, and the law student coming out rolls about $140,000, and a med student $161,000. Now, I know everybody out there is saying, big deal, those law students and med students are going to make the money back, but I know a guy that worked for the Attorney General's office. Phenomenal lawyer. In fact, he was one of the guys that did a lot of the high-end AG work and trials for the state. Took him 22 years to pay off his student loans from law school. So that's a big issue.
I know a guy who used to be a prosecutor. He now does criminal defense. Okay, and he's, admittedly, a really, really good attorney.
And is his initials TK?
TK. And he's been out of law school for going on 20 years now, and is still paying on student loans.
Well, I understand that's because he's always buying old Atari games, spending his money on that.
Why would he buy Atari when there's Xbox One and PlayStation 4?
Hey, Fred, how do you get out of paying the student loans?
That's a good question.
I want to know this.
But here's some interesting things before we get to that is, did you know in some states you're going to lose your licenses if you don't pay your student loans? If you're on default, some states will take your professional license. There's a number of nurses that had their professional nursing license pulled. There is... In Montana, they'll pull your driver's license. So here you are trying to pay your student loans. You default, but you're still trying to pay them. And all of a sudden, oh, I don't have a driver's license. Now I can't go to work. That's a catch-22. As of 2016, they were in Montana trying to figure out a way around it and not make it so that they can take away their...
Uber's big in Montana, so no problem, right?
It is now. It is now. So... But they're driving without a license. So anyway, but that's important stuff. So what do you do? The first and most important thing is, and I'm going to throw this out, is number one, what? Fight it, right? Fight it.
And we're talking about a situation where the lender has said you're in default, and now they're trying to take legal action against you to get you to repay your student loan because you're in default and you fight the legal action.
Okay, let me tell you why we're fine. I did jump ahead. I mean, objection lacks foundation. So I objected to my own argument.
Sustained.
So I did not lay the foundation. The National Collegiate Student Loan Trusts have filed lawsuits like crazy to go after those who are defaulting on their loans. Okay, to set the foundation, they are not the originators of the loan. Originators mainly were banks or governments, and these are sold down the line. I mean, sometimes 3 or 4 different tiers by the time it gets to this National Collegiate Student Loan Trust, which, by the way, represents 15 trusts. This is like an umbrella. And what happens is, and what was happening is, they were forgetting what? They're losing paperwork. Oops, lost the paperwork. But almost, not exactly, but I'm going to give you round numbers, almost 90% of the people that are defaulting on their student loans do not appear in court. They just don't show up. And guess what? They get a default. When they get the default, they're automatically, then they can go against all your assets. They can go, not all, but most of your assets. They can leverage against your paycheck or anything to that effect. So
or
the
levy
first,
accounts.
Yeah, accounts. So what's the first thing? Show up to court if you're sued.
Hire a lawyer.
Hire a lawyer.
That is actually true. Hire a lawyer. You need to hire a lawyer. It's worth the money. Go out and work it a few extra days. And
show up for you.
And show up for you. So you first hire a lawyer. The second thing is, if you don't have a lawyer, make sure that you have them produce or show the trail. I mean,
the paper trail.
That's exactly right. Start from the beginning. This is who I got the loan from. Now let's go down 2 or 3 steps. Now this trust, this National Collegiate Student Loan Trust, how did you get ownership?
Chain of title.
Yeah, show me the chain of title. Just like.
So they have to show the actual original documents, not just copies.
Okay, stop right there. Yeah, that's actually happened in some of the cases. Is they didn't have original documents. So you make sure, like you said, Denise.
I want the original documents. You want to show if the original documents was signed with a different lender, then they have to show how the new lender got the ability to enforce the contract of the former lender. And it's kind of like, I guess what's happening is it's every trial attorney's worst nightmare. It's a failure of evidence, correct?
Yeah, well, and the best part about it, think of the millions and millions of documents that they have to have because of the millions and millions of people who have these student debts. They're going to lose stuff.
This sounds very familiar, like this has happened before in some other area of assets that ballooned up and crazy.
That's right.
The mortgage scandals.
The mortgage scandals, and a lot of people staved off foreclosure. They'd go to the foreclosure hearing and they would say, show me the original deed.
Right.
And because these mortgage securities have been packaged and bundled and sold and resold and sold and resold, that by the time the lender who instituted the foreclosure proceedings got around to it, they couldn't find the original deed, and it was like
promissory note.
A promissory note. And Denise, that's exactly what you had said, which was the trial attorney's worst nightmare: failure to produce evidence, and they're left holding an empty bag, and they couldn't foreclose.
So in the student loan context, people really are paying back the principal that they borrowed, but they're also paying back interest. And there's interesting thing about the interest is currently it's tax deductible. But when I was going through a repayment process, Reagan changed the law and it was no longer tax deductible. So there's a period of time that the interest on your student loans was not tax deductible. So that's a really important consideration because you need that tax write-off.
Go ahead. Keep going.
You really need that tax write-off. And so what did I do to pay off my student loans? Well, I refinanced my home, and I got the tax write-off on interest by virtue of the home interest.
That's a great
deduction.
idea. But jumping back to make sure that you make the other side produce everything, a lot of times they say they will, or they'll appear in court and say, oh, we've got them. What you need to do, though, this is why you need a lawyer. Send them discovery. Set the deposition of the person most knowledgeable. Let them show up to their deposition, and what's happening is they're not showing up to the depositions. Because guess what? They have if you have a $20,000 loan, they've got billions and trillions of dollars they're going after. Do they want to spend all this time and money to fight you? We're not advocating, okay, let's get around the law. We know it's owed, but we're lawyers. And we care about one thing, and that is following the proper procedures and the laws. And if they're not going to do that, then they got to walk away. And make sure your lawyer takes the depositions, if they're trying to say they have everything, and does written discovery and start pounding on them.
And remember, when you're going through student loans, you don't always have the same lender, and you have multiple points where you have to sign on contracts. So you're looking at different points in your borrowing that if the lender's going to come after you, they have to prove that you've actually signed the contract, and they have to produce the original documents.
That's exactly right. Just like Todd has to produce things all the time that are original, the original, what?
Stuff. I have stuff that I have to produce that's original, and as a prosecutor, there was stuff that I had to produce, and I'll tell you, this stuff was everywhere, and that's a legal term.
He was sleeping, and I was trying to get him to help out and be a big pop in, and he's laying back thinking, let's see, I got the baseball game tonight.
Thinking, what am I doing? Food goes in here. But you know, one of the things this leads me to think, though, is that once...
We got 1 minute, Todd, so it doesn't matter. You can talk for a minute.
Well, once you go through all this, worst case scenario for you is you go through all this and they end up saying, all right, you owe the money, and they can come after you and get your assets and go through forfeiture proceedings. And Denise, we have something relating to asset forfeiture that we're going to get into, not forfeiture from a private entity, but from a governmental entity. Why don't you lead us into that?
Yes, it's going to be a really interesting topic. It's called adoptive forfeiture, and Jeff Sessions, our Attorney General, has said we are going after your assets if you are even thought to have committed a federal crime. And the interesting thing about it, it's a split. The assets get split between your local policing agencies and the federal policing agencies. So stay with us. We're going to have a really fun time talking about asset forfeiture.
Not quite as fun as OJ, though.
Or stuff.
No.
We'll be right back.
This is payback, and I've been on my grizzy, since way back. No sir, and I don't drive a Maybach, but guess what I did?
I finished paying, selling Maybach. I finished paying, selling Maybach.
The law offices of Denise L. Dirks provide family law services in Northern California.
This is Denise Dirks. We can represent clients in divorce, legal separation, child and spousal support, custody, determination of parental rights, step-parent adoptions, guardianships, and even conservatorship matters. Call 1-877-866-7186 for a consultation.
When the law affects your family, call 877-866-7186. The family of attorneys at Denise L. Dirks is here to help.
Since 1960, Iceberg Drive-In has been a family favorite for not only our famous thick shakes with unlimited delicious flavor combinations, but also our hand-breaded onion rings, delicious fries, and signature fry sauce. The Iceberg Shake Shop is perfect for high-traffic locations such as busy strip malls, recreational amusement centers, or near theaters. We are seeking qualified franchisees in the western United States. You'll have access to not only the popular Iceberg Drive-In name, but also our procedures, buying power, and operations. Plus, receive support dedicated to your success. For more information, email franchise@icebergdrivein.com or visit our website at icebergdrivein.com.
We're in the studio with Fred Penney, managing attorney with Penney and Associates Injury Lawyers. Fred, tell us what makes you the number one choice for handling personal injury cases.
Most of our firm is made up of former insurance company trial lawyers with extensive experience handling all types of personal injury matters. We believe that gives us a distinct advantage.
That's Penney and Associates Injury Lawyers with locations throughout California. For a free consultation, go to pennyandassociates.com or call 1-800-616-4-LAW. That's 1-800-616-4-LAW.
Since 1960, Iceberg Drive-In has been a family favorite for not only our famous thick shakes with unlimited delicious flavor combinations, but also our hand-breaded onion rings, delicious fries, and signature fry sauce. The Iceberg Shake Shop is perfect for high-traffic locations such as busy strip malls, recreational amusement centers, or near theaters. We are seeking qualified franchisees in the western United States. You'll have access to not only the popular Iceberg Drive-In name, but also our procedures, buying power, and operations. Plus, receive support dedicated to your success. For more information, email franchise@icebergdrivein.com or visit our website at icebergdrivein.com.
Lately, I've been losing sleep, dreaming about about the things that we could be. But baby, I've been praying hard. Said no more counting dollars, we'll be counting stars. Yeah, we'll be counting stars. Like a swinging vine, swing my heart across the line. In my face is flashing signs. Seek it out and ye shall find. Old, but I'm not that old. Young, but I'm not that bold. And I don't think the world is sold. I'm just doing what we're told. I feel something so right, doing the wrong thing. And I feel something so wrong, doing the right thing. I could lie. Everything that kills me makes me feel alive. I've been losing sleep, dreaming about the things that we could be. Baby, I've been praying hard. Said no more counting dollars, we'll be counting stars. Lately, I've been losing sleep, dreaming about the things that we could be. Baby, I've been praying hard. Said no more counting dollars, we'll be counting stars. I come in last night about 10:30. That baby of mine wouldn't let me in. So move it on over.
You're listening to RadioLawTalk.com, and we thank you. Now back to Fred.
Hey, Practice Panther, thanks for following us. Just popping up on our Instagram. Nordlaw likes our post. Lawyer Issues does. Shoe Empire 7. Look at that. We got people popping up trying to follow us.
We got followers in the know, right?
There's a whole bunch more, but really we're talking about deductibility of interest of the student loans. And here at Radio Law Talk, we talk general law, but there's a little. Dan came up with some good insight, and so did Todd about it. Dan, what? Let's even though it's general, but
student loan interest, you can get it deducted if you don't make more than the government says you can make on that. As Todd was saying, sliding scale. So where it begins, I don't know.
I think you can deduct 100% of your interest up to your annual income, as long as it doesn't exceed, it's like $45,000 or $50,000, and then as you exceed,
there you go. That's most lawyers.
As you exceed $50,000 a year. That's where the sliding scale comes in. The more you increase over $50K a year, the less percentage of your student loans you're able to deduct, up to when you start making around $80,000 or $90,000.
It's gone.
It's gone.
Bye-bye.
You can't deduct anything. So, Denise, you said you refinanced your student loans into your home, and let's just say for the sake of your arguments, that's a 30-year mortgage or whatever it is. If you did that, you can deduct that interest for 30 years, so you probably got a better deal.
For sure.
Than you would have gotten for deducting the student loans, because you're able to deduct it over a longer period of time.
And I got a lower interest rate.
Yes.
Well, I guess it's important to make sure you make less than $90,000 a year and have $151,000 in student loan. That's what's important.
That's everyone's goal.
What's also important is that you are never suspected of committing a federal crime.
Yes.
So Jeff Sessions has now opened the spigot on asset forfeiture or adoptive forfeiture. And this is where the purpose of adoptive forfeiture is to try to dismantle or disrupt the criminal organizations that are in the drug trade or in the black market type trade. And it's a very permissive law under federal law. It allows for the local and federal policing to go in and actually seize assets if you are suspected of committing a federal crime. You don't have to be convicted. You don't have to even be charged. They can go in advance and take this property.
Was due process completely forgotten when this law was drafted?
I seem to recall something in the Constitution saying that,
like that
no person shall be denied property, life, or liberty without due process. But here they're saying that you can be denied, and money is property.
And it's big business because $65 million was seized in 2015. That was the last year that the Attorney General was actually going after these assets. Now, Jeff Sessions says we're doing it. We're going for it. And the incentive is huge because the split of these assets that are forfeited is 80% to the local policing agencies and 20% to the federals. And so that, I mean, it's really exciting. So it's
exciting for who?
Well, it's exciting for the Department of Justice,
there you go.
for sure.
Yeah.
But it also gives a huge incentive for the local policing agents because they want this money, and they get the money. And what's interesting now, we've got 13 states that have really restrictions on this type of forfeiture, but we've got all the other states that don't. And now we have so many states that have marijuana laws that are now it's legal and under state law, but marijuana is still illegal under federal law, and marijuana is a drug. So you're looking at, if we have organized marijuana growers in these states where it's legal to grow and distribute marijuana and sell it, are we going to have an interplay here between the federal and the states?
Technically, they could be breaking the federal law, and therefore the federal government can come for forfeiture.
And you can come, and the local police agencies can go after the assets. So we got to see what's going to happen here.
That seems so crazy to me because it's the local policing agents supposed to be following the local state law, right? But then they have this incentive to go and snatch up all these marijuana plants.
10th Amendment says if there's a conflict, federal law takes precedence. So how does that work?
Oh, boy.
Whoever's got the money and whoever needs the money the worst, which is the government.
You know, back under the previous administration, Eric Holder, then the Attorney General, and this was what happened in Colorado when they passed the marijuana laws. They passed it because Holder said, we're not going to enforce federal law in Colorado, and that has followed suit in every state that's passed it. But now that we have a new Attorney General, the game has changed, and with all of the requirements for marijuana growers to file with the state, sign on the dotted line under the penalty of perjury, how much you're growing, how much you gave to the co-op, how it's packaged, how it's marketed. If the federal government wanted to come in and prosecute somebody criminally for that, the prosecution would be as easy as subpoenaing the documents from the state agency, and your goose is cooked. We talked the last segment about failure to produce evidence as an attorney's worst nightmare. This is an attorney's gift. The easiest way to get evidence, probably the easiest way to investigate these things, is by subpoena to the state agency.
And you can get reports. They have to have reports on these forfeitures, and they have to provide public disclosure of all these assets that have been seized under the Forfeiture Reform Act.
What do you mean by that? They have to do what now? The federal government does?
The federal government has to provide for a list, if you will, a public disclosure of all the assets that have been seized under the forfeiture laws.
Wow.
And they have anybody can get it under the Freedom of Information Act, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they can go and see how many that have been forfeited. And it's totally available to the public. So it's interesting because it's required, the disclosures are required, or the reporting is required under 28 U.S.C. 524 subparagraph C. And anybody has access to those records. So if you want to know whose assets have been seized, you certainly can have access to those reports.
Now, I want to clarify something really quickly right here. Fred Penney is not in any sort of jeopardy. If you hear a sound in the background right now, that is not Fred firing up the paper shredder. That's a chainsaw outside the studio.
Yeah, our hidden studios that nobody knows where they are. And I'll tell you where our studio is next to some other well-known people on the radio studio. And it's hidden. Believe it or not, you don't tell people where your studio is. And we're looking out. There's some dude out there.
He's found our
with this
compound.
weed eater.
He's found our compound.
And he is like right next to us, weed eating.
Not moving at all. He's not going to budge.
I think it's the defense lawyers from the, we're plaintiff's lawyer on our side. It's the defense lawyers of hire this guy. Hey, Fred's Radio Law Talk's over here. Stand right there by the window.
He is weed eating a box that says classified on it, so I don't know.
only on Radio Law Talk Radio. Poor Denise is doing this cool segment that we're learning stuff about, and you're gonna watch it later on YouTube. But we're just, us dudes are like, what the heck is that? And Cal's in there going like, Cal's adjusting his little.
I'm saying, did we all of a sudden get a bad audio cable here? No, it's a weed eater. It's
Cal's got his little hearing aids he's playing with.
Hey.
And then he's thinking marijuana while she's talking about it. What? Marijuana again?
But Denise, everything that you said, that's scary stuff because, you talk about asset forfeiture here, about the big guys and the going after it, but to set an example, and we have seen the federal government time and time again do things because they want to make an example of somebody or set an example. I think we had a case, this was a state case not too long ago that Chris Rodriguez talked about, where they went after some guy for disking his field, and he's talking about millions of dollars in penalties. There's nothing that keeps.
It was Braden Chadwick, actually.
Yeah, they're Braden Chadwick that talked about that. All right, disking the field. There's nothing to keep the federal government from going after the small guy.
That's true. And the interesting thing, there's three types of federal forfeiture. There is a criminal forfeiture, which is actual prosecution of a defendant, and it's an in personam for those who like the law. That means it's against the person. There's also a civil judicial forfeiture, and that is in rem. That's against the property. So they could, in that example about the farmer who tilled his field, that could have been, they could have gone after the property. That would have been in rem. The last one is administrative forfeiture, and it's also an in rem action, and it allows for there to be a forfeiture without any judicial involvement at all.
Well, whatever what was it? In rem is.
In rem is
in rem.
REM.
It's a type of sleep. I'm in REM sleep.
Right. We're gonna end that on Radio Law Talk. The hour blew by.
Todd got some of that earlier.
Yeah. See you next week.
Tell me what I've gotta do. There's no game.
You have been listening to RadioLawTalk.com, a copyrighted presentation of Radio Law Talk Incorporated.